Good evening, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you signing in today. We're going to start with the book of Job tonight. Before we begin though, Father, as I read and receive your word, may it deeply be rooted in me, so when difficulty comes, it will be your word that encourages and strengthens me. Amen. So the author is unknown. The date is 10th century BC. The content is this long poem deals with one of humanity's deepest problems. How do we explain sin and suffering if there is a God powerful enough to do something about them? The book begins with 3 sets of speeches given by Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Each one tries to explain Job's misery in a different way. A fourth man, Elihu, tries to summarize the situation, offering yet another explanation of why Job is suffering. Finally, the Lord himself speaks to Job, and Job recognizes that we do not so much need answers to life's problems as we need God himself. Job is then healed and given far more material and spiritual wealth than he had before. The theme is a repeating message in this book is our need to trust in God. We simply do not have enough knowledge to explain why things happen the way they do. It is possible to rise above our limitations by trusting in God, because God does know why everything happens and will work situations to the benefit of those who love him. When we have nothing left but God, God is enough. Chapter 1, Prologue. There was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. And he employed many servants. He was, in fact, the richest person in that entire area. Every year, when Job's sons had birthdays, he invited their brothers and sisters to join them for a celebration. On these occasions, they would get together to eat and drink. When these celebrations ended, and sometimes they lasted several days, Job would purify his children. He would get up early in the morning and offer a burnt offering for each of them. For Job said to himself, "Perhaps my children have sinned and have cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's regular practice. Job's first test. One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan and the accuser came with them. "Where have you come from?" the Lord asked Satan. And Satan answered the Lord, "I've been going back and forth across the earth watching everything that's going on." Then the Lord asked Satan, "Have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and will have nothing to do with evil." Satan replied to the Lord, "Yes, Job fears God, but not without good reason. You have always protected him and his home and his property from harm. You have made him prosperous in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." "All right, you may test him," the Lord said to Satan. "Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, but don't harm him physically." So Satan left the Lord's presence. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were dining at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's house with this news: "Your oxen were plowing, with the donkeys feeding beside them, when Sabines raided us. They stole all the animals and killed all the farm hands. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: "The fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all the sheep herds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with this news: 3 bands of Chaldean raiders have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with the news: "Your sons and daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's house. Suddenly a powerful wind swept in from the desert and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed and all your children are dead. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground before God. He said, "I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be stripped of everything when I die. The Lord gave me everything I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord." In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. Chapter 2, Job's second test. One day the angels came again to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan the accuser came with them. "Where have you come from?" the Lord asked Satan. And Satan answered the Lord, I have been going back and forth across the earth, watching everything that's going on. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and will have nothing to do with evil. And he has maintained his integrity even though you persuaded me to harm him without cause. Satan replied to the Lord, skin for skin, he blesses you only because you bless him. A man will give up everything he has to save his life. But take away his health, and he will surely curse you to your face. All right, do with him as you please, the Lord said to Satan, but spare his life. So Satan left the Lord's presence, and he struck Job with a terrible case of boils from head to foot. Then Job scraped his skin with a piece of broken pottery as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die. But Job replied, you talk like a godless woman. Should we accept only good things from the hand of God and never anything bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. Job's 3 friends share his anguish. 3 of Job's friends were Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. When they heard of the tragedy he had suffered, they got together and traveled from their homes to comfort and console him. When they saw Job from a distance, they scarcely recognized him. Wailing loudly, they tore their robes and threw dust into the air over their heads to demonstrate their grief. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and nights, and no one said a word, for they saw that his suffering was too great for words. Chapter 3. Job's first speech. At last Job spoke, and he cursed the day of his birth. He said, cursed be the day of my birth, and cursed be the night when I was conceived. Let that day be turned to darkness. Let it be lost even to God on high, and let it be shrouded in darkness. Yes, let the darkness and the utter gloom claim it for its own. Let a black cloud overshadow it, and let the darkness terrify it. Let that night be blotted off the calendar, never again to be counted among the days of the year, never again to appear among the months. Let the night be barren, let it have no joy. Let those who are experts at cursing, those who are ready to rouse the sea monster, curse that day. Let its morning stars remain dark. Let it hope for light, but in vain. May it never see the morning light. Curse it for its failure to shut my mother's womb, for letting me be born to all this trouble. Why didn't I die at birth as I came from the womb? Why did my mother let me live? Why did she nurse me at her breast? For if I had died at birth, I would be at peace now, asleep and at rest. I would rest with the world's kings and prime ministers, famous for their great construction projects. I would rest with wealthy princes whose palaces were filled with gold and silver. Why was I not buried like a stillborn child, like a baby who never leaves to see the light? For in death, the wicked cease from troubling, and the weary are at rest. Even prisoners are at ease in death with no guards to curse them. Rich and poor are there alike, and the slave is free from his master. Oh, why should light be given to the weary, and life to those in misery? They long for death, and it won't come. They search for death more eagerly than for hidden treasure. It is a blessed relief when the family die, when they find the grave. Why is life given to those who with no future? Those destined by God to live in distress. I cannot eat for sighing, my groans pour out like water. What I have always feared has happened to me. What I dreaded has come to be. I have no peace, no quietness, I have no rest, instead only trouble comes. Chapter 4. Eliphaz's first response to Job. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied to Job, will you be patient and let me say a word, for you could keep from speaking out. In the past you have encouraged many a troubled soul to trust in God. You have supported those who are weak. Your words have strengthened the fallen. You steadied those who wavered, but now when trouble strikes, you faint and are broken. Does reverence for God give you no confidence? Shouldn't you believe that God will care for those who are upright? Stop and think. Does an innocent person perish? When has the upright person been destroyed? My experience shows that those who plant trouble and cultivate evil will harvest the same. They perish by a breath from God. They vanish in a blast of his anger. Though they are fierce young lions, they will all be broken and destroyed. The fierce lion will starve, and the cubs of the lioness will be scattered. This truth was given me in secret, as though whispered in my ear. It came in a vision at night as others slept. Fear gripped me. I trembled and shook with terror. A spirit swept past my face. Its wind sent shivers up my spine. It stopped, but I couldn't see its shape. There was a form before my eyes, and a hushed voice said, "Can a mortal be just and upright before God? Can a person be pure before the Creator? If God cannot trust his own angels and has charged some of them with folly, how much less will he trust those made of clay? Their foundation is dust, and they are crushed as easily as moss. They are alive in the morning, but by evening they are dead, gone forever without a trace. Their tent collapses, they die in ignorance." Well, thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. We will continue with Job tomorrow, and I hope you have a great evening and a blessed day tomorrow. See you then. Bye.